Hello and welcome back to Average Wine Consumer. Today is a tough question. I'm going to be talking about champagne and do you really need to spend loads of money on champagne? If you're a die-hard champagne fan, I just think there are better options out there, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to try and explain a little bit about what these options are and what the difference is between champagne and other sparkling wines, which may be made in the same way as champagne, but for less than half the price and still tasting, if not better in some cases, but exactly the same and absolutely lovely. Clear these off.
Remember the order so I can get a B-roll afterwards.
Yeah, so I'll do
Champagne first.
Champagne, JP, Yance, Riv Blanc, Louis Roederer, and then at the end go, but if you want to really drink something nice, English.
Cristal. No, even Cristal.
Not sponsored, English. So before we jump into the video, guys, do just remember to like and subscribe. So first off, there's this bottle here. This is a classic champagne. I think most people would recognize it. It's Joseph Perrier, okay? So very quickly, what is champagne? Champagne is a sparkling wine made within the northern region of France, from the region of Champagne, and that just means that any sparkling wines produced there made in the champagne method are allowed to be called champagne. So what is the champagne method that I'm on about? There are a few different ways of producing champagne, but just to very easy kind of break it down quickly. There's a certain amount of time the wine needs to be aged. So champagne wine, what does that mean? Champagne starts off as a still wine. So you pick the grapes, produce a still wine, age it in a barrel, then put it into a bottle, add some yeast, which naturally forms sparkles in the wine, so produces carbon dioxide. Let it sit on this, on the yeast is called the lees. The longer you let it sit on the lees, the stronger the flavour you're going to get of kind of this biscuity brioche taste almost, okay? And then what you do is you slowly, what's called a process called riddling, which is when you have the bottle like this in kind of aging, and all the lees will start to fall down the bottle and you get a layer of sediment on the bottle. Then you have professionals called professional riddlers, and they go around and they touch each bottle every day and they lift it up and twist. What that does is it brings down all the lees to the bottom, pop it out. Then you do a process called dosage. So after you've popped out this kind of like puck of lees, this dead yeast at the bottom of the bottle, you refill it up with some still base wine, which adds a little bit of sugar and kind of balances out the wine, okay? The process of this riddling part and how long it spends in bottle, so champagne to be called champagne has to spend at least 15 months inside of the bottle, and at least 12 of those would be in contact with this yeast, okay? So that's champagne. This bottle, Joseph Perrier, is known as the classic house style champagne. So that pretty much house champagne just means it's just your bog standard champagne. It's got the three main grape varieties, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier and Chardonnay. It's a blend of all three of them. It's classic, it's crisp, it's not too dry, not too sweet. Perfect foam on it. The foam is the size of the bubbles, so just a very fine foam on it. Lovely, easy drinking, and this comes in at, we're selling it at the moment for $37.99, I think, off the top of my head. So not too cheap, but not too expensive as well. You can go a lot higher than that. So this is what we're going to use as our kind of our bog standard. This is what we're going to go against with the other bottles, okay? And now I'm going to explain to you what other options there are out there. Oh, the level on that. I had one of these yesterday that the level was down here.
Does that mean that the cork's been compromised?
But no, it's to do with dosage. So when they freeze the puck and they pop it off, they add a certain amount of still wine to it to add sweetness to it because they're way too dry. But if the wine's already got enough sweetness in it, they don't have to add as much dosage. If they lose some, they'll only top it up a wee bit. There will be around 750ml in there, but it just means it's been aged properly. That's kind of the whole point of it.
Okay.
Lovely.
A little bit of BTS.
Yeah, behind the scenes. So, all right then, so what is better than champagne? For me personally, I think there's great options like this. This is called Yance. It is a Tasmanian sparkling wine, okay? And little bit of a backstory behind this. This was actually started by a very famous champagne house, Louis Roederer. It was part of their R&D project. They went to Tasmania, thought, can we make sparkling wine here? Built the vineyard, built the winery, got it up to a point where they were producing really good sparkling wine and just went, yep, so we can do that. So what we'll do is we'll just sell it back to the locals and we'll go back to France. That's what they did. So this is now run by local Tasmanian farmers. All the grapes grown in Tasmania, everything done inside of Tasmania. The only thing that's different about this and champagne is the fact that this doesn't come from Champagne. It is aged in exactly the same way as Joseph Perrier. It has similar, same grape variety varieties, it will just be a different dosage, a different percentage of those grape varieties used. And then the other thing is, so when I was talking about the aging of the lees, so how long this spends in a bottle compared to champagne. So Joseph Perrier on average spends 3 years in the bottle before it will be ready to be sold to the public, okay? On Yance, on their rosé and on their cuvée and on some of their vintages are more, but on their classic kind of cuvée styles, these guys spend as well 3, and on their website it says 3 to 4 years, but you can never really tell, but I'd probably say about 3 to 3.5 years in the bottle. So you've got the same amount of time aging inside the bottle, same style of sparkling wine. It's another cuvée. I think I might have the rosé here, purely just because I prefer the rosé in this. So this is same booze, same in every way, just made in a different country, and then same amount of time aging, and then drum roll, the price, £20. Usually you can find this on offer for about £15 to £16 as well. This is less than half the price of the first champagne, and it is incredible. It is an absolutely stunning bottle of wine, and it drinks, I think, same sort of taste, flavour profile, same everything as champagne, just half the price. So if you're a die-hard champagne fan and you go, well, I don't like that because it doesn't taste like champagne, it's not champagne, it never tastes like champagne, I'd highly recommend trying the Yance instead. Just tried to cut that because that thing.
Came up with it. Alright, when you're ready, man, jump back in.
Alright.
Still seems to be behaving now. So, oh, see, the minute I said it.
That's gone wrong. That's because I probably lifted that up.
Oh, don't you do. Come on. Come on. There we go.
Salt it out.
Oh my God, are you seeing it?
Ooh.
So I got a mind.
You're like a cattle tamer.
Yeah.
Get a little lasso. Woo! 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 Next kind of sparkling wine I'll be showing is another sparkling wine from France, and this is from a region called Limoux, and this is a Blanquette de Limoux. To make a Blanquette de Limoux, well, from the few grape varieties that are allowed to be grown there, but in the Blanquettes and the sparkling wines, there's one grape variety which is lovely, and it's Malzac. I've actually spoken about this wine before, I think, in other videos. I'm just unsure whether yet they go up on the channel, but when they do, you'll be able to look at it. And what is Malzac? It's just an old school grape variety which isn't really used in much. There are a few still wines produced by this producer, Rive Blanc, who make 100% Malzac still wine, which is incredible. It's almost like a Chardonnay in sense, but a lot more acid. And they then make this, and this is what Malzac's pretty much only used for within Limoux. Okay, why have I shown this? Yet again, this is made in the same way as champagne, okay? So it starts off life as a still wine, as this Malzac white wine. Then it's put into the bottle with a little bit of yeast culture, which produces the CO2. It's aged. Off the top of my head, this is slightly less than the last two, okay? So the last two sparkling wines spent three odd years in the bottle aging on the lees. This only spends a year, but that's not to say it's worse or any different. The only thing that changes is you don't get that biscuity kind of brioche taste. The longer you let the wine sit on what's called its lees, this yeast that I keep going on about, the more of that brioche biscuity taste that you get coming through, okay? So this only spends a year on its lees, so it's a lot fresher, a lot kind of like lighter, more acid, more in your face pop. Then the different thing about this as well, but there's just to say about this one that I really like, if I turn the bottle here, you see Brut Nature or zero dosage. You might be thinking, what the hell is that? What does that mean? Zero dosage just stands for, when I said, when you have this yeast puck in top of the bottle, after it's been sat in there, you freeze it, liquid nitrogen, it freezes the puck in the top of the bottle, you pop it out, and what used to happen is a little bit of the wine would also get lost at this process. That's why you have this foil to cover that up. But a little bit of wine will get lost, and then what you find is the yeast eat the sugar inside of the wine to produce the sparkles, okay, to produce the bubbles, the CO2 bubbles. What can happen is if you leave it in contact with the lees for too long, you get a really bone dry and like bitter taste. So all the sugar's gone in the wine. So what you do is you add something called dosage, which is a little bit of kind of still base wine into the wine, and what that does is that brings back up the sweetness of it and kind of balances out the wine, so it makes it not taste so tart, okay? But this is a zero dosage, okay? So this means it's had no sugar added. This has been made, aged, they've taken the puck out of this lees puck, and then they've put a cork straight into the bottle. So this is pretty much as natural as they get. Nothing's been added, there's been no additives, no nothing to the wine. It is just as it goes. The reason why I tried to show this as well is this comes in at £16 a bottle. This stuff is absolutely incredible. For £16 a bottle, this is what I personally drink over champagne. I'm not going to waste £30–40 on a bottle when I can have something for literally less than half the price, which drinks, I think, better. But that's also because I quite like dry wines. I don't like sugar in my wines. But that's not to say you shouldn't drink champagne. there are certain champagnes that I would kind of allow. Well, any champagne is good. A good sparkling wine is good sparkling wine. But if you have, I'd allow. But if you do have a fair bit of money, you can get champagnes like this. Okay, so this is, bow down to the Cristal. This is what all the rappers drink. It's all the craze. Louis Roederer's Cristal from 2013. This is an incredible bottle of sparkling wine. Okay. There are certain, pretty much every champagne house will have their top end cuvée, their top wine. This is Louis Roederer's top wine. Joseph Perrier have one, it's called Cuvée Josephine, it's absolutely incredible. I've just chosen to show Cristal as kind of what money can buy you for, like, and you really can't beat this, I don't think, with anything that just kind of a sparkling wine substitute anyway. And that's because this actually spends 6.5 years on its lees. So what you're paying for is you're paying for everything that's gone into this bottle. You're paying for the bottle which is designed after the SARS, which has a flat base, so it doesn't actually have a dimple in the bottom of the punt, as we found, not the dimple in the bottom of the bottle, but a punt. It doesn't have one of those. You're paying for everything that goes into it. It's the whole process of making the wine and whatever. There are many like this, but the issue is you're spending 200 quid per bottle. So would you rather have one bottle of this or about 20 bottles of this after you get your discount on buying more than 6? Usually you get a 10% or a 12% discount. If you buy 12, you get even more discount. So you could have a good amount of these or just one of these. And I think, in my personal opinion, I prefer to have more rather than one very expensive bottle. But that's not to say that that's the only thing which I kind of think is that couldn't beat that. There is one other sparkling wine which I think is incredible, and I think deserves to be said, and this is Nightingale. So this is English sparkling wine, which is made kind of in the style of champagne. The reason why I've decided to show Nightingale is these guys, well, they've been voted on countless times English best sparkling wine. They've actually been said that they're the world's best sparkling wine on once a few occasion. It's a female wine producer based down in Kent. It's just an absolutely incredible sparkling wine, incredible bottle. They're not like champagne though in style, which is why I didn't really want to show it before. They do a more kind of like crisp, steely finish, and that's purely because they do a lot of their aging actually in stainless steel tanks instead of in wooden barrels like the other guys. So you don't get that kind of like more rounded texture. They're very sharp and it's acid, but in a beautiful way, done very well. And I just think if you want to try something other than French champagne and you're die hard to the French, you shouldn't be if you're English, and try and drink something local like Nightingale or any of the other good English sparkling wine producers. So hopefully that explains slightly a bit more about champagne, and we don't have to waste loads of money. I just highly recommend if you're a die-hard champagne fan, go out, look for things which are like Blanquette de Limoux, Blanquette de Loire, Blanquette de Bourgogne, just any sort of other sparkling wine that are cheaper, and give them a go. The only thing that I'd say, if you like champagne, steer clear of is Prosecco, because that's made in a completely different style. But if you see any other kind of sparkling wine for half the price, you can spend little money and get the same quality. You're just not paying for that name of champagne. Well, thank you very much. It's been Average Wine Consumer. Like, subscribe, leave a comment if you want us to do videos on anything that you're interested in. If there's anything you want to know about the wine industry, just let us know and we'll try to film a video about it. Thanks a lot.